In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall. Never quit, traversing through each obstacle. Show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. Nothing that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never strayed from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside of the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice. All right, it is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023, the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, back with you here tonight. It was an electric week of football, had a really, really cool weekend of football, and fantasy football was no doubt unpredictable. However, we're not really here to talk about that today. The week number 17 of the fantasy football and NFL season really ended in what it really is a somber note, as Damar Hamlin, a man from McKees Rocks in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, collapsed after a routine hit on wide receiver T. Higgins. He was given CPR for about 9 minutes on the field before being taken away in an ambulance. He remains in critical condition, although we are hearing some positive updates as of this evening. Guys, it was really kind of a crazy scene there. People that we look up to so much, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, sharing their tears for their NFL brother here. The NFL, they ultimately postponed this game. Fantasy championships do kind of remain in the balance in a lot of places. We're being told that this game's probably not going to be rescheduled for this week. So a lot to figure out on a fantasy front. However, really, guys, like why we're here today, we woke up and we debated as a company for 3 to 4 hours. Should we come on? Should we do a live stream out of respect for Mr. Hamlin? And we realized that, while we want to, obviously honor him and pay our respects to him, and we're still hoping that, things turn around for him and his family, that we're best here helping other people who are also struggling with it. Because, guys, I've been watching football for 18 plus years of my 24 years on this earth, and I've never seen anything like that. I don't think any of us have. And as fantasy managers, as sports gamblers, it really makes you feel shitty, that how we act sometimes, how we treat these players like they aren't humans. So really what we're going to do here today is we want to be here for the IBT family, other people who are struggling with this a little bit. We will speak on the situation, kind of give you our feelings and feedback on it. And we also just want to lend support out there to you guys who are struggling. So if you guys have any thoughts on the situation, any questions you want to ask us, drop those in the chat. Let us know how you're feeling, what your takeaways were from this tragic event yesterday. And then we're going to reflect on why we love football a little bit. When was a time in 2022 that we felt like we lived life to the fullest? Because, Nate, you kind of touched on this earlier in a column today, that this was something that made you realize how fast life can go away from you, as we saw him unconscious on the field there. So later in the week, we'll get back to more regular fantasy football content. If you guys need week 18 advice, my column will be out on Thursday. Dave's will be out on tomorrow. We'll have our DFS tailgate on Twitter Spaces. So we will have week 18 content coming for you guys. But just today, we really didn't want to get into it too much. Next week, we'll be back. We'll do our awards. We'll do the Super Bowl, that type of stuff. I've been talking for a while, guys, so I apologize. Nate, Scott, thank you guys for being here with me today. I know it's a day that none of us wanted to really show up.
I didn't see the play last night. We had a lot going on. My brother-in-law was coming over. Jackson just got a bunk bed. He was bringing sheets for it. Didn't have an opportunity to see the game. I saw a notification from ESPN that said the game had been postponed. Talked to my brother-in-law. He had heard about it on the radio. And I flashed back to it. I don't know if anybody watching is old enough. Scott, you remember Hank Gathers, Loyola Marymount. He collapsed on the court in the now defunct Western Conference Championships. And it was I mean, he died on the court. And I felt that seeing what happened. I'm so thankful that he had a medical staff around him to begin CPR, to get his heart started.
Certainly.
It's just terrifying, man. Like, so our friend Jeff Bell was at the game last night.
Oh geez, yeah.
I can't imagine the feeling of being in that stadium because you watch someone collapse. You don't know if you just watch someone die. And how do you, he's alive, thank God. But how do you wrestle with that? You watch someone's heart stop, someone who's 24 years old, who's supposed to be in peak physical condition, and they just collapse on a field. He wasn't a 70-year-old man, 24 years old, like, and just it's such a freak thing to have happen.
Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same for me. I wasn't able to watch the game, and I actually got a text from my mom just saying, hey, are you watching the game? And I thought that was a little bit odd because it's not a Seahawks game. You know, I didn't really see why she would be texting me. So then I just checked, and it had the DEL for delayed on my phone, and I started thinking about weather. I was like, it's in Cincinnati. Is there? And then I started going down the rabbit hole, and everything stopped. Like, you know, I mean, like, I'm as big of a fantasy football obsessive nerd as anybody, and gone, all of it gone. Like, who's going to win the gone? And then, I mean, I watched the play, I watched the actual play, and it really wasn't anything too out of the ordinary. He stood up and he collapsed. And that's, I mean, you know, it's not that, like, I memean, I was expecting to go and see a big, huge hit. You know, I was like, it must be like a big, huge hit. And watching it, I mean, Nate hit it. It was terrifying. And I can't imagine what it was like there for the players that are doing the same thing. I mean, and, you know, for all, you know, I've been trying to, and I would recommend to other people, try and limit the noise around this. That was inevitable. The noise, like, I mean, I've come to the realization it does not matter.
Yes.
What happens? Battle lines get drawn and people pick a side. And this is as far away from that for me as possible. This was an accident. You know, I saw some footage people filmed from the stands, and you could hear it in their voice. They're like, what's going on? Like, in one of them, you could hear somebody say, this is different. And that was kind of the theme in the beginning. You know, it was, this is different. This is not normal. So yeah, it's hard to know what to think. It's hard to know what to do. You know, there's parts of me that want to just like go on social media and spill my brain on social media about how I feel. But then, you know, I probably should just stay silent at this. It's just, yeah. What do you do? Like, this is unprecedented.
You know, I think that's the theme. It is unprecedented. We're feeling a lot of emotions as fantasy managers, as NFL fans, as human beings as well. And, you know, so we are taking in a lot of this. We're going to talk a little bit more about kind of the fallout from this and what we can take away from it, because there are some really good things being, you know, that are happening in light of this, which, you know, is great to see so many NFL fans and the community and the Bills, Bengals rally around this gentleman. So we will get into it here with our lone segment of the night, weekly advice. It is going to be a little bit shorter of a show tonight in respect. We will have the all in the scope team out on the website tomorrow, so you can see that if you need want to see how good we've done on the waiver wires this year. We got Albert in the chat tonight. Good evening, IBT. He's saying good evening to you, Albert. We always appreciate you riding with us, man. Guys, let's go ahead and jump into it here with weekly advice.
Weekly advice.
All right. So I want to kind of start this out by any final thoughts on Hamlin here. Of course, we're hoping and wishing for the best for him. We got an update earlier today that the breathing machine they were using, he now only has to have 50% of it on rather than 100, which that's really good to have that update. His friend and manager was on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, giving a pretty good update, kind of just on the situation in general, clearing up some stuff. So if you guys want a pretty educational interview, pretty raw as well, check that out. That was really good. Scott, any final thoughts here on Hamlin? Because definitely he's in our hearts here right now, man. Kind of tough to get through this one.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, obviously prayers to him and his family, everybody involved, whatever that's worth. I mean, I'm not super religious, but I do pray in a certain way. It's just not really religious based. But and I mean, like, I changed my profile pic and did certain things to just feel a part of the good vibes that are hopefully going his way. But I mean, we're still in a spot that's dangerous. I mean, if you read my column, which the timing of my column, if anybody read it this particular week, was pretty insane.
Yeah, it was.
Because recently lost an uncle who had a heart episode, and so obviously for me personally, that's still very fresh, and that was very much a part of my viewpoint yesterday. But that the news we got today is good, and I'm just hoping all day long, every second, that he pulls through. That's all. I mean, there's nothing really else to say.
Yeah, Nate, what's your thoughts here on Hamlin, and also just the incredible rally behind him? Everyone's kind of feeling this effect today, especially as fantasy football content creators. Really hard to get up and do our job, but we are here. So any thoughts on it? His charity right now that he actually started last year, you touched on it in the column, or 2 years ago when he was still in college, has raised now over $4 million. I think we're hitting that close to that 5 million point. So what was your thoughts on just kind of the rally behind this?
It's the best of humanity. And in these times, I'm reminded, as frustrated as I get with people on a daily basis, there's still a lot of good in the world. There was a dude who donated $20,000. And this was a fund that this guy's had since 2020. I don't know that he ever hit his goal ultimately of that $2,500. You love to see, like, Stephon Diggs. Like, no, he forced his way into the hospital to see his boy. Like, these guys are family. And it renews my faith in humanity. I've not enjoyed some of the hate I've seen for T. Higgins today. Guys,
Certainly.
to make it clear, if you're not aware what happened, this is about the most freak thing that can happen to you. T. Higgins had to hit a specific point on his chest at an exact point in the heart rhythm for this to happen. It doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen to people over 18,
Right.
Almost ever. I read 2 instances of it happening to people in professional sports. One was Chris Pronger in 1998. He returned to play a full and long career. He's an amazing person, and this was a freak thing. And dude, how awful does T. Higgins feel? Like, have some respect for the guy, and hopefully we see Hamlin again on the field, and I think we will.
Absolutely, yeah. We are hoping whether he chooses to play football again or not, we're hoping to see him back here in 2023, guys. I want to move to a little bit lighter of a conversation here. Kind of just like you said, Nate, did really renew my love and appreciation for this fantasy football and NFL community that we have going on right now all across the world. And last week, I actually wrote a column about the NFL's impact on the United Kingdom and what they're doing over there in the UK, which is really, really cool stuff. They have, like, their whole other sub-community over there. So that was really cool to kind of peer into that as well. But guys, I just want to talk about in general, like, why do we love football? And it kind of takes me back to when I was very young. First time at a game, I'm from a small town. I go to Pittsburgh, which at that point, Pittsburgh seems like New York City to me. And I'm seeing just thousands and thousands of people, Steelers merch, everyone repping a jersey. Big Ben's first ever home start was my first football game. So Jerome Bettis, Deuce Staley, Troy Polamalu, so many legends. And you just felt the energy, you just felt that energy. And I still feel that energy to this day, whether I go to a game or like in April, I got to go to the NFL draft and hang out with a lot of 49ers fans, shoot some content over there for our friends. And it was like they were so excited for their team. They were so excited and just the fact that they didn't trade Deebo Samuel to the Jets at pick 10. They were elated. And we had some stops from players at that event as well. Fred Warner was there, and just the energy, the vibe, it's unmatched. I can't really explain it any better than that. But whether it's just a draft party or whether it's a game, the NFL fandom in this country and across the world is just, it's captivating, and I feel like now it's led us to a community of people who are a lot like us. So thankful for that, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, there was the back and forth about people getting mad about other people talking about fantasy football and what to do. So there was some of that, but like for the most part, at least what I saw was, I totally agree. Like what I love about this community, both fantasy football, fantasy sports, NFL, just the coming. I mean, you saw it like it's one of those things when you saw both teams last night together, that was part of the moment for me where it was just like, because we say it all the time. We say life, the human aspect, the human being behind the football helmet. All that's more important than the sport and fantasy sports. We say it all the time, but you truly saw it last night. I mean, it's a super tragic reason why, but you did see it, and it's just not something you see. And then every single NFL team, as far as I know, they changed. Everybody's fully behind it. I just read a tweet from talking about his uncle saying, the family is just absolutely blown away by the support that, I mean, basically the majority of the entire world is pulling for this kid. And that's the way the last whatever amount of years has gone with all the divisiveness and everything that's happened. Like, it's just, it gave me some hope that might not have been there. Or it might've chipped away at the cynicism that's been building up in me because I'm becoming an old man now. And it was great to see. So yeah, I mean, what can you say?
Not
so eloquent tonight.
Just a real quick update. His GoFundMe for his Chasing the Imps Foundation is at $5.6 million.
Yep. Awesome.
In 24 hours.
Well, you saw the city of Cincinnati last night lit up their buildings blue and red. I mean, these are like, they're not gestures that are going to necessarily do anything literally, but like, I don't know. It's just
the meanings behind it.
And the whole, like, this moment, like when the injury itself and everything around it is like, wow, this is different. On the positive side or not the positive side, but on the just, the people coming together for a similar cause side, it's also different. And it's refreshing to see. Again, the reason sucks, obviously, but so many people come together behind this kid,
Yep.
So looks like we got Hoove in the chat tonight. Good to see our brother Hoove. Looks like we got Mr. Scampers in the chat as well. He's dropping by. He said he'll have to listen back. We appreciate you either way, Mr. Scampers, is always our friend. Guys, I really appreciate the thoughts and feedback there. I want to talk about a lesson that Nate talked about in his column today, and it really kind of shed a light on it, that this is saying it in a way, like, you got to live life to the fullest. Like, you never know when something crazy like this could happen, and today could be your last day. So is there a time that you guys can share from this past year, 2022, as we kind of put a bow on that you can say you lived life to the fullest, whether it was a fleeting moment or a week or a day or a certain experience? Nate, is there something that sticks out in particular to you?
So I wasn't prepared for this year. I just had a moment in the past. This year, that's been this entire year, man. When this pandemic started, and you know this, and I've talked to you about this many times, and you too, Scott, we realized how unhappy we were and that we were just kind of wasting our life away. We were missing those cool fleeting moments because we were so busy with other things, with work, and just being constantly wrapped up in all of the things that life can get you wrapped up in. Wow, that was not what I was trying to say. We realized that if we were going to be happy, we had to just go for it. So we went for it. Jen quit her job and we went for it. And that's how we live our life almost every day now. And it's not easy to do, but we've had a lot of instances of there's no guarantee that there's a tomorrow in our lives. And I think that's a big reason why this hit home so hard for me and why now, like, I'm even more motivated to just keep doing what we're doing and stay on the path that we're on because we actually enjoy our life every day. I mean, there are stressful moments, but I'm very proud of us for that. And I'm proud of us for doing it every day, like actually living it. And I hope that helps other people. I hope that we're making an impact in other people's lives. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Scott, is there something in particular to you from this past year that sticks out?
I mean, I echo some of the similar things. Prior to the last couple of years in this community, I don't know if it wasn't that I just didn't have anything I was very passionate about, or I did and I just wasn't willing to chase it with much gusto. But that's all been different here. And it was very apparent this past year because I committed to a lot more. And I met those commitments and I wanted to, the weekly article I was writing, wrote all year for Fantasy Data. Like that was an experience. And it was somewhat self-inflicted, but that was a lot to do every week with a full-time job, not in fantasy. But like, at no time, even when I was tired or stressed or whatever, at no time was I not enjoying myself, or
Certainly.
At no time did I have 1 ounce of regret. And that's just, and I've kept it up every day. Like Nate said, that's different for me. On a somewhat similar, more literal example note, I'm terrified of heights. I always have been.
Mm-hmm.
We recently did a staycation, which I wrote about, and we went to the Space Needle, which I've been up in one time in my life.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. That's it.
And so one thing they did in the Space Needle a little while back, a few years ago, 5 years ago, they renovated there's like a restaurant, there's a viewing deck and all kinds of stuff up there. They renovated it to where most of the restaurant, and it slowly spins very, very slowly. It's like 1 horsepower motors that slowly spin. They put a glass floor on it. So you walk around on a glass floor looking down 500 feet or whatever it is. And I would have never walked on that glass floor. Outside on the viewing deck, they have these big angled, really thick glass panels that people like to lean back on and get a picture, but you're like leaning back on glass with nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So, but this particular time, I don't know what was in the air. I had no issue doing any of it. I was the first in my family to walk out on the glass floor. I went face first. Whoops. I went face first in the glass, and like my wife was just like, "Who?" Because it's known I'm very scared of heights. At least I was. But for some reason on this particular day, I mean, call it living life to its fullest. I don't know, but I'll never forget it. It was just this weird moment where I was just like, "F it."
Scott's literally living life on the edge there, man. That's super cool to hear that.
Hey, Scott, I have a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
Have you seen the glass trail in China? The glass floored like trail up the side of a mountain in China?
No, and there's also the little glass platform at the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm. Would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, before this Space Needle trip, I would have said, no way in a million years would I do that. But maybe I would now. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was, man. Like,
That's
have
cool,
had
though.
white knuckle heights my whole life. Like,
Me too. I can't even go up, but like, give me a 10-foot ladder and I'm going to go up to foot 6, and then I'm
Yeah.
like maxed out. Nope.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, let's just round it out then. And I would love to hear anyone in the chat if they want to weigh in as well. But let's talk about resolution or goals for 2023 here. It's a new year. Does anyone have anything in particular that they are jonesing to, whether that's a health related goal, whether that's a personal finance goal, whether that's, just a general life goal or resolution? Is there anything you're about to accomplish here in the new year, guys?
Well, so mine is kind of stealing from yours, but it's just one thing. I haven't been to a doctor since 2016.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to do that whole thing, and like, I'm going to a doctor this year. I'm terrified, but I'm doing it.
Nate, I'm with you, man. I think it's been about 2017 for me, since I've been to a doctor. Just, I guess a little different point in life for me, but I was just, in college, and I didn't really think I needed to go. And now I'm kind of, a full adult. So trying to figure that out, but probably a little less scary for me than it is for you, but maybe not.
Well, and I mean, I was saying things like, "Oh, Nate," but I haven't. It's been a couple years for me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm being encouraged strongly by my better half, especially with with what happened with my uncle, and just it's like it's common sense. Like, I have health insurance. I should
Might
go
as
and
well
get my
use it,
blood
right?
checked
Yeah.
and see if all these cheeseburgers are as bad for me as they could be.
They
But that, I mean,
definitely
that's a
are.
good one. And that's, I mean, it's stressful and kind of scary if you haven't been in a while. It's just like I think I went all of my 20s without ever going to the dentist. And boy, did I pay for that when I finally went. But all you can do is go, and there's tons of things out there to help us these days. Like, I probably have pretty high cholesterol and bad fatty acids or whatever. But there's medications for that these days. So,
or you just eat a ton of quinoa. That's what I've been doing.
Oh.
I eat like 2 cups of quinoa a day.
I think I'd rather eat medicine.
Have you ever had quinoa?
I think so.
Dude, just try it. I promise you, it is delicious.
It's like transparent, isn't it? It's like
No,
weird little.
No, it's a seed from the Andes Mountains. It's an Incan seed, and it like scrubs your arteries and helps you lose weight, and it has a ton of fiber and protein in it.
I like Hoove's idea.
It's basically a colonoscopy.
So we got Hoove in the chat saying they have a DIY colonoscopy kit nowadays. Don't think I would be wanting to get into that anytime soon. And Hoove said his goal for the new year is to get Scott and Nate to overcome their fear of heights. Yes, that's a great goal, Hoove. We will accomplish that maybe in Canton this next year.
Yeah.
Guys, I guess I'll round it out here with one of my goals, and it's just to continue to get healthier. I went through my college, like I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and I didn't really realize how good that is for your body. And then when you stop doing that in college, you're drinking beer all the time and whatnot, you gain weight. And after college, about 22, 23, you start seeing it. So last March I started running, and I try to run about 4 or 5 times a week. So I just want to keep doing that. I want to keep trying to get back to my early college, late high school days weight. Also go to a doctor like Nate said, and just kind of make some of those healthy changes as much as we can. And, I think there's a lot of small things we can do in life, whether it's getting like the less sodium taco packets or less sodium chicken broth, different stuff like that you can kind of just do small changes. So, that's really, I think what I'm about here in the new year, just trying to maximize life here, get healthy. And the other thing too, and I think maybe you guys feel this way too, but just with like the pandemic, I feel like I haven't gone on like enough fun dates with my girlfriend lately. So I feel like I would love to do more of that. Just like some of the weird stuff, we've been together 6 or 7 years. We've never gone to a movie together. Just like very like trivial stuff. So that's another goal. Just kind of, spend more time with the people I love. I'm sure you guys feel that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. If you have a significant other, I mean, I can't speak for Nate or you, but we get lost in the routine of life, And you have to consciously make an effort for time together. That's not, laying down in bed at the end of a exhausting day, laying next to each other on our phones. It's actually like hanging out with each other and doing something.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's a really good one, because makes two people happy.
I completely agree, man. And I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our significant others who, not only put up with us, but also join in on the fun of our content creation sometimes. And, there are a lot of late nights and early mornings that come in this industry. So we greatly appreciate, them for putting up with it. And then we got 7 to 10 hours of commercial free or commercial filled football, however you choose to use it, on Sunday. So guys, this was a great podcast today. It was low key. We didn't talk really any fantasy football. But we just wanted to be here today. If anyone does have any fantasy football questions, or if you guys just want to talk about this or, life, my DMs are always open on Twitter. I know Nate and Scott are the same way. So hit us up there if you want to talk more. We'll be back later this week, Friday. We will talk some fantasy football. Nate and we have Mike Stoyanov on Friday, so I'm excited to chat with Mike, play some games, have some fun here going into week 18. And still more fantasy football content to come in 2023, guys. We're really trying to get some fun stuff locked and loaded for you. Working on some giveaways here in the new year, some new merch coming down the line as well. So keep riding with us. If you guys are new to the channel, please hang around, subscribe. Really does help us grow here. So for Nate, Scott, I'm Seth Woolcock. Guys, keep it in between until next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.